Okay, let's get started. So any discussion of it in New Jersey cannot begin without consideration of land and labor. I'm going to turn it over to Anaya, who will read our land acknowledgement.
Any discussion of and in New Jersey cannot begin without consideration of land and labor. Land and labor acknowledgements are tangible political admissions of the ongoing violence of the settler colonial state and our implicit participation in it. We read this land acknowledgement, which is offered by the Nanticoke Lenni Lenape Tribal Nation for those who seek to honor the Lenape people and their territory preceding an event in Lenapehoking, also known as New Jersey. The land upon which we gather is part of the traditional territory of the Lenni Lenape called Lenapehoking. The Lenape people lived in harmony with one another upon this territory for thousands of years. During the colonial era and early federal period, many were removed west and north, but some also remain among the continuing historical tribal communities of the region, the Nanticoke Lenni Lenape Tribal Nation, the Ramapow Lenape Nation, the Powhatan Lenape Nation, the Nanticoke of Millsboro, Delaware, and the Lenape of Chesswood, Delaware. We acknowledge the Lenni Lenape as the original people of this land and their continuing relationship with their territory. In our acknowledgement of the continued presence of the Lenape people in their homeland, we affirm the aspiration of the great Lenape chief Tamanin that there be harmony between the indigenous people of this land and the descendants of the immigrants to this land, as long as the rivers and creeks flow and the sun, moon, and stars shine.
Our labor acknowledgement is offered by Dr. T.J. Stewart, Assistant Professor of Higher Education and Student Affairs at Iowa State University. We must acknowledge that much of what we know of this country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horror of the transatlantic trafficking of their people, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We are indebted to their labor and their sacrifice, and we must acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be felt and witnessed today. For us, at Gathering Ground, we read these statements to make visible what has been invisible to many people, particularly people racialized as white. We acknowledge these historical truths of the theft of people and land, enslavement, forced migration, and forced labor. And though this is our history, this must not be our future. We at Gathering Ground are committed to working in community and constant dialogue with all of you in disrupting this fatalistic view and create new norms and new structures for a more equitable world. Before I turn it over to Lynette, I want to share a little bit with you about Gathering Ground, especially for those that are joining us for the first time. We are a multicultural, multiracial, multi-generational, and socioeconomically diverse movement of people committed to taking action that creates thriving and equitable communities. Gathering Ground offers a variety of programs designed to address systemic issues and empower individuals to become agents of positive change. From community engagement initiatives to collaborative learning experiences, each program, like today's briefing, is developed and crafted with the needs of our community in mind and with the goal of cultivating a culture of equity and justice. Just want to give a quick commercial here for our January 9th, Sipping in Solidarity. We'd love for you to join us on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. It's a new monthly community check-in that really kind of sprang from the election outcomes. And it's a monthly check-in, a space for people to come together in solidarity with one another. It's an opportunity to share your thoughts, to navigate challenges, and to connect with a community of like-minded individuals. So we hope you mark your calendars and join us on January 9th. I want to recognize the people that have been working on today's briefing. Our presenter, Lynette Sheard, The team at Gathering Ground, Casey O'Brien, our Director of Programming, and Anaya Brown, our Communications Associate. And just a reminder, this work is made possible with the support of Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation, the Grunin Foundation, and PSEG. I sincerely want to thank all of you for making time in your busy schedules to be with us today. And we hope this is one of many Gathering Ground programs that you join us for. Okay, just a reminder, questions throughout, and if you have one that you would like to remain anonymous for, remember to just direct message myself or Anaya. Before I turn it over to Lynette, I'm going to say a few words about her. Lynette, your bio is quite extensive, so folks, I'll be reading hopefully major highlights, and then if you want to learn more about Lynette and the amazing work that she and the Mental Health Association of New Jersey do, you can check out the website, which we will put in the chat. Lynette Sheard is a community education coordinator at the Mental Health Association in New Jersey and the director of national award-winning NJ Mental Health Players, an improvisational community mental health education program. The program provides audiences with a dynamic way to receive basic education about mental illness, addiction, and other relevant challenges impacting emotional wellness. The mission of this art and advocacy program is to increase education and awareness, decrease stigma, and break the silence often associated with mental health. Lynette Sheard is a sought-after, award-winning conference keynote speaker and a workshop facilitator, having presented to numerous statewide and local agencies, consumer organizations, and the community at large. She has worked with the Health Association for over 22 years. She was awarded Professional of the Year by the Association of Persons with Supported Employment for her work with individuals with disabilities and mental illness. She's certified by Mental Health America as a trainer of mental health first aid for adults, older adults, and youth. In addition, she is certified in suicide prevention, psychiatric advanced directives, and trauma-informed care. She is certified behavioral consultant and is president and CEO of LLM Coaching and Consulting. The New Jersey Mental Health Player Program, under her leadership, has been awarded the Innovative Program of the Year Award by Mental Health America. This is why we're so excited to have Lynette with us. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Lynette.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we're going to make sure that we're going to work through these technical difficulties. I'm going to share my screen. And my amazing team will make sure that I am where I need to be. All right. So again, my name is Lynette Sheard. And are you hearing this bell ring?
We are.
Okay, good. What I want to share with you is the importance of this bell and the importance of symbols. The Mental Health Association in America is a national organization that focuses on mental health and the treatment of people who are diagnosed with mental illness. And in the early 1950s, Mental Health America assigned and issued a call to asylums across the country, because there was a time when people who were diagnosed with mental illness, the treatment was perhaps to have them chained and shackled. So during this time, there was a call out to these asylums across the country for their discarded chains and shackles. And on April 13th, 1953, at the McShane Bell Foundry in Baltimore, Maryland, Mental Health America melted down these inhumane bindings and recast them into a sign of hope, the mental health bell, the bell of hope. And I share this story because origins are important. How things begin is important. What's inscribed on the bell is, cast from shackles which bound them, this bell shall ring out hope for the mentally ill and victory over mental illness. And so as we begin, keep in mind your own origin and how things started and what's the beginning, what is the purpose, what happened, because all this does apply to your overall mental health. This presentation is going to be interactive, so I encourage you to As I ask you questions, please use the chat. If you'd like to unmute your lines, that's fine as well. Or even if you just want to make a comment or just take some notes, think about it, because some of these things are these questions are so big, I'm going to ask you, you may need to go back and really think about it. But one question, the first question, keeping in mind origins, what is obvious but not focused on in this picture?
The chains.
The chains. We're looking at a symbol of liberty, and we're also looking at chains. This is a symbol of the United States, a symbol of liberty, a symbol of liberation, and also a symbol of acknowledgement. The original artist who created the Statue of Liberty, the original picture or diagram was to have the chains in the hands of Lady Liberty. But the Americas and the financiers decided, no, 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 no. Put the chains somewhere else. So they put the broken chains around the feet as a symbol of liberty and the abolishment of slavery and the acknowledgement and the acceptance, I guess, that we're going to finish this oppression, that we acknowledge that slavery existed, and liberty, this symbol is a symbol that you are going to move forward and be more inclusive. In addition to that, again, the origins of things, understanding how things begin, understanding the backstory, getting the information, and not just about historical things, but about your own emotional DNA, about the way that you interpret the way what things matter to you, what things matter to your family, your cultural things that impact how you feel about the world. The longer we swim in a culture, the more invisible it becomes. What becomes invisible is oppression, classism, racism, sexism, and they're just as blurry as this font, intentionally. Privilege, in this case, meaning benefits attached to your group. Internalized inferiority becomes more invisible, which is another long clinical word for self-hate. Internalized superiority, another word that describes that, is entitlement. And the longer we swim in these things, the more invisible they become. It becomes part of a normal pattern of behavior and movement. An interesting 2024, we're about to leave 2024 very shortly, but I love to read, and I know there are lots of readers on this call. And so the word of the year, which is so ironic, is polarization. And polarization is defined by Merriam-Webster. And I had a lot of notes that I can't read, but I'm just going to remember it because that's what wellness is about, adaptability. We define polarization as division into two sharply distinct opposites, especially a state in which the opinions, beliefs, or interests of a group or a society no longer range along a continuum, but concentrated on opposing extremes. Any feelings about that? We are coming off of an election, and this election has been very polarizing. Not just the election, but COVID was very polarizing. There have been so many things. If you watch the news at any extended period of time, or even if you're on social media, there's so many polarizing topics that have caused a lot of emotional distress. And this polarization, two extremes of anything are called bipolar. So, to connect it back to mental health. So consider where you are on the continuum. Because on this continuum, a lot of the emotional distress or unease, uncomfortability, dis-ease can be sourced or can be thought of, or the origin could be cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance occurs when a person can hold two related but contradictory cognitions or thoughts. Two ideas can be consonant or dissonant. Consonant ideas logically flow from one to another. Dissonant ideas oppose one another. And there is an emotional impact. For example, an example of, say, cognitive dissonance, since I brought up COVID, is you believe that there's a pandemic, and that mask could possibly save your life, but you don't have all the details, but you choose not to wear one. Or you believe that eating processed sugar is bad for you, but every meal you eat it. So the reason that can become emotionally damaging to you is because you have to defend that somewhere. You have to defend something. You have to defend something. And there's also a point where there's a muting of the soul, because you have to put your agency behind something that forces you to do something or to not do something. So the question, again, this is a big question. What could possibly be the emotional impact of cognitive dissonance? And there's so much dissonance. So I'm going to share this video. I'm going to try, Casey, but if it doesn't, then we'll keep going. And this is just a quick 3-minute video of being proactive as it relates to your emotional well-being, and that everything around you impacts your emotional health.
Our brains control how we act in the world. But did you know the world around us also affects our brains? Our genes, environment, and social interactions all work together to shape the way our brains develop. Sometimes these factors combine in ways that create unhealthy thoughts or feelings. Over time, these unhealthy thoughts and feelings become so unmanageable that we need outside support to get better. 50% of people will develop at least one mental health condition during their lifetime, and half of those people will develop a mental health condition by age 14. Unfortunately, it takes about 10 years for people to get the treatment they need. We don't wait to treat health problems like heart disease or cancer until stage 4. We shouldn't wait to take care of our mental health. The right early treatment can change lives, reducing school dropout rates, hospitalization, incarceration, and unemployment. Imagine what the world would look like if we all got the help we needed when we first started showing the early warning signs. Start the conversation before stage 4. Visit mentalhealthamerica.net to get informed, take an online screening, and better understand your own mental health.
Yay, I'm glad that worked. If you didn't catch that screening code at the bottom, I wanted to invite you at this point to take out your phones and scan the QR code for a free mental health screening. These are free. They collect the data as to inform agencies on how we can support and how funding is provided for mental health resources and support, because the acknowledgement is, again, acknowledging the origin, understanding, developing landscapes, developing a language for mental health, improving access is what Gathering Ground is all about, and it's what we're all about at the Mental Health Association as well, is including and increasing access. There could be great programs, but if the access links are broken and they don't work, they're not effective or efficient. Mental health conditions such as depression or anxiety are real. They're common and they're treatable, and recovery is possible. 80% of people recover from mental illness with early intervention. That's why we do what we do. So by even scanning this QR code or even talking about mental health today, you are breaking the stigma. So thank you. So here's another way we can all participate. And so I'm going to need your support. I'm inviting you. Now, you don't have to yell in your outside voice, because I'm not sure where you are, or if you could do that if you're sitting in an office, but maybe if you want to write it down, if you can yell it out, unmute yourselves, or even put it in the chat, we invite you to do so. So here is what we have: a feelings wheel. Now, those of us of a certain age, emotions: happy, mad, sad, glad. But there are hundreds of emotions. And do we even have the language to discern the emotions that we are feeling? There are layers to the feelings. There are layers to feelings. There are layers to sadness. Is the sadness tied to boredom? Is the sadness tied to depression? Is the sadness tied to being ashamed? Or is the sadness tied to feeling inferior or inadequate or miserable or feeling bashful or apathetic? Same thing. What is the root? What are the spectrums of your joy, of your excitement? Is it spirited? Is it amused? So many words. So I want to encourage all of you to right now just take a look at this wheel and just shout out more than 3 feelings. What are you feeling right now?
Let's see. Um, um, Feeling trustful, trusting. I can't see much. I am happy. I cannot see the entire wheel. I'm sorry. I'm on my phone and I'm not seeing the entire wheel, but I know that I'm happy to be here. I'm feeling trusting. This is a trusting, safe space. Let's see what else is on there.
And Francis, while you're looking to see what else is there, does anyone else want to shout out some of the things that they're feeling?
Feeling peaceful and calm, but also thoughtful.
Thank you.
I'll say I feel content, hopeful, and important.
I'm resonating with thoughtful, hopeful, and content.
I'm
I
also
am-
feeling content. I'm feeling thankful, and I'm feeling relaxed.
I'm feeling cheerful, sentimental, and thoughtful.
And we also have a few folks dropping their feelings in the chat. Anaya feeling thankful, calm, and hopeful in this moment, and Milton feeling cheerful, calm, and thoughtful.
Thank you. I got a curveball for you. What about the future?
I think the sigh says a lot.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Terrell says energetic, calm, and aware. Terrell, is that for present day? Feel how you feel right now or how you're feeling for the future? For the present. Great.
You know what's interesting, and first of all, thank you all for participating in that. I really am grateful and humbled that you all are inspired enough to participate in this and at least connect to your own feelings. Sometimes it's the hardest thing to do. Sometimes it's easier just to say, I don't know, and leave it there and can't find the words. But when you find the words and you find at least a spectrum of something or a quadrant of something, you can better support yourself and help others to support you. Because the more you know about yourself, the more that other people can support you. So consider this a daily practice of coping. This is the beginning of coping. Coping should be proactive and not reactive. Coping should not be a response to trauma or triggers. Coping should be something that is consistently done proactively, just like the video suggested before stage 4. So the things that you do proactively to maintain your sense of normal are paramount. And let me just tell you, on behalf of my therapist, who I've paid tons of money, and I say this all the time because it's the truth. She said, Lynette, and this cost me $5,000, I'm going to tell you for free, there's no such thing as normal. I was sitting in there for years trying to find normal, to fit some stereotype of normal. I should be this size. I should have this much of education. I should be this type of mom. I should be this type of sister, blah, 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 blah. Fill in the blanks. The bottom line is I was in therapy to find what my normal looked like, what my wellness standard was. We all have our own levels of wellness. Find and be the best authentic you that there is. Be you, because everyone else is already taken. That's a joke. But it's true. Be you. And then figure out who that person is that you like and how to maintain it and sustain it proactively. Mental illness on a 6th grade level is something that is diagnosable, that affects a person's thinking, emotional state, and behavior, and disrupts the person's ability to work, carry out daily activities, and engage in satisfying relationships. Simply as Deacon Laverne always says, live, laugh, love, and learn. If you're not living, laughing, loving, or learning to your normal capacity or what's normal for you, consider seeking professional help, or at least begin asking questions. What is happening with me? Even asking that question and considering your mental health, you are breaking stigma. You are acknowledging that my mental health matters, that I matter, that my feelings matter, how I show up in the world matters. I need a break right now. It matters. You matter. Your wellness can be described. Samsha has described it, and this PowerPoint will be available, including the notes that I can't see, but you'll be able to see them, is in dimensions. There are 8 dimensions of wellness, and they are codependent upon each other, and all of them will impact one another. Consider the 8 dimensions of wellness as a touchstone for the source or root or origin of your ease or your dis-ease. So there are 8 of them: emotional, financial, social, spiritual, occupational, physical, intellectual, environmental, and they all matter. What matters even more, once you understand what these dimensions are, and you can go around the wheel and do a touchstone, say you wake up in the morning and you looked at your feelings wheel and you said, you know what, I'm sad today. It's the origin of my sadness. Why am I feeling sad? Is it emotional? Is it financial? Is it social? Is it spiritual? Is it occupational? Is it physical, intellectual, environmental? You begin to learn yourself, because what is a paramount or a touchstone for wellness is not that we won't feel this sense of dis-ease or discomfort or uncomfortability or sadness or any of those feelings on the wheel. First of all the feelings are valid. There's no such thing as a negative or positive feeling. They're all feelings. It's how it impacts your life and your access to the enrichment of all of these 8 dimensions. Mental wellness is about flexibility. It's being able to feel the feelings, acknowledge the feelings, and work through the feelings by your level of flexibility, adaptability, and you finding a balance that suits you. That's your normal. That's your $5,000 normal. So, emotional, coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships. That could be your source of wellness. How does this impact your emotional wellness? How important is this to your life? Financial, satisfaction with current and future financial situations. This could definitely be a touchstone for your ease or dis-ease. If you're struggling financially, it's going to impact the other dimensions. It may impact you emotionally, socially, maybe because you can't afford to go out with your friends. The holidays are coming up. You can't afford this. You don't want to go out, so you don't show up. And all these different types, they're all interrelated. Social, developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. This was completely attacked during the pandemic, especially for those people who need that physical connection, the energy of others, a touch, a hug, just the family support and things like that. There are people still struggling through COVID. We're not out of this yet. We're just seeing the fallout. So those things matter. Spiritual, expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life. This does not necessarily always have to mean religion. It could be meditation or yoga. Spirituality is often described as the path of the heart. Occupational, personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. Your occupation can be your source of ease or dis-ease, but I want to caution you also, those things that provide you joy and peace and love and a sense of purpose also take an emotional toll. Physical, recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. You know that commercial, you're not yourself until you have a Snickers. You're hangry. You know, those things that come, these emotions are real and will absolutely impact the other dimensions. Intellectual, recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. Your ability to learn. Do you want to learn? Do you want to grow? Do you want to understand the origins and context of your life and your emotional landscape so that you can be more a student of yourself because you matter? And environmental, good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support your well-being. Now, this could be internal environments or external environments. It could be something as simple, but can mean the world of everything, to make up your bed before you leave every morning. How clean your place is, how tidy it is. You have a pile of laundry. You have boxes from IKEA that you've been putting together since last year. Or do you feel safe in your neighborhood? Are there enough supermarkets? Can you find fresh breads and grains? Are eggs $10? These things absolutely impact your wellness, and your responsibility, because you matter and your brain is an organ that we need to take care of and maintain, is to find out the best you and how to maintain. And so my question to all of you is, and you don't necessarily have to answer this right now, but write it down. And you can even screenshot this right now, even though you're going to get the PowerPoint. But what does wellness look like to you? Now, if anybody wants to share, we'll provide some space right now. Anybody want to share, what does wellness look like for you, if you'd like to? And, anything in the chat.
Wellness for me is in the intellectual, so being creative, spending time to draw and create, that helps me to feel in a mentally good space.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
I'll go. Hi. Wellness to me is when I don't feel anxious, like when I look around at my life and everything is reasonable. I don't need perfection, but if it's not causing me anxiety, I feel very well.
Thank you. And access is important. Access to supports, access to coping skills. And interesting, I have another slide here, because we're going to talk about some coping skills. And you all mentioned, actually, when I asked that question, what does wellness, look like to you? What is wellness? And looking at the wheel, that those things become your coping skills as well. Again, coping skills are proactive. It could be breathing. It could be meditation. It could be walking. It could be exercise. It could be art. It could be theater. It could be sleep. It could be journaling. It could be comedy. It could be so many different things, because we're so many different things that there is no sample or standard prescription for all of us as it relates to coping. But what I encourage all of you to do is think of some coping strategies that maybe you've used, or maybe never thought about using, or something that you probably are doing already, but have not labeled it a coping strategy, but it's something that you are always drawn to, and it is something that you are continually doing. No one has to ask you to do it. It's just something that you do that makes you feel authentically you. Think about those coping strategies and what you do to stay well. Here's some things, and this is actually taken, I believe, from another presentation that we've done many, many times on racism and mental health. And this was, I believe, taken from Robert DiAngelo's book, which I tweaked a little bit as far as took some of the coping strategies that she recommended for social injustice and racial injustice. And so these were some of the skills that she suggested, or Black people had recommended in these emancipation circles, as how coping in these bipolar times that we're living in. Seeking distraction from disclosed triggers. For example, engaging in pleasurable activities, participating in restful and relaxing activities, peaceful activism, seeking solace in social support and validation by pursuing systemic change. Being a part of a solution is also helpful, especially in these really big problems that we're working through. Learn and educate yourself on yourself, your history, your emotional legacies, your emotional ancestral coping skills, barriers, and the barriers to seeking support. There are ancestral coping skills. For example, in my own experience, every time someone was sad, there was a big meal. Oh, come over, I'll bake you a pie. Oh, come over, I'll cook you this. Oh, I'll fry you some chicken. Oh, food was the coping skill. We couldn't go to the Bahamas, but we could have a big meal. So the escape, a lot of times, that soothing, what was the self-soothing? And I also included this quote because we are in this political season, and it's like the big elephant in the room. And thank you for the sips that are coming up on January 9th, which happens to be my birthday. Is that it's like the big elephant in the room. Like, I don't know who to talk to. Who can I talk to anybody about this? I'm not sure where I thought so. Until I get my thoughts together, I'm not going to say anything. But we need to have safe spaces like this to talk about it. So I appreciate you all for that. So this quote says, caring for myself is not self-indulgent, it is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. Here we go back to the wheel. So here's some suggestions. So you can screenshot this as well. Coping strategies within each dimension of wellness. Again, this is to be thought of as proactive. We don't have to wait for a trauma, or we don't have to wait for issues or a problem to kind of get well. I'm learning that myself, that, okay, I need to do something. I need to have a maintenance. I need to have a plan. I need to have a routine to maintain my wellness on purpose. So for an example, emotional. Keep a journal to assess your mood over time. Maintain regular sleep pattern. Seek counseling if needed. Intellectual. Read a book every month. Watch documentaries. Challenge your beliefs. Under environmental, make your bed. Stay clean and organized. Be mindful of your environment. Social. Connect with friends and family every week. Contact someone you haven't spoken with recently. Reach out to your support network. Financial. Create a budget and stick to it. Put away retirement savings every week. Be selective about your purchases. So these are just some suggestions. Physical. Exercise regularly. Maintain a diet. Moderate your alcohol consumption. These can be proactive things that you do because all these impact your emotional health. And there is no health without mental health. There is no health without mental health. We saw the Olympics, this past Olympics, the strongest people in the world with muscles in their pinky toe. And if their mind says, I can't do it, their body can't do it. So think about that. The mind is a powerful thing. Because the mind is such a powerful thing, sometimes we need to kind of calm it down a bit. We need to calm down our nervous system because it gets overwhelmed, because it is a muscle and it is strained. And we only have a certain amount of bandwidth. And what we're dealing with right now, there's some of us who are dealing with some things that are so tough. It's a wonder you're on this call today. You're seen. You matter. Take care of yourself. Here's a grounding exercise I'd like for you all to indulge in. Invite you to participate. If you like, it should take about a minute. And what it is, and you could do this anywhere, and you can do this with young children, because grounding can assist in managing anxiety as well as calming down the body's nervous system. All right. So think of 5, take a deep breath, relax your body, and focus on these things. 5 things you can see. Four things you can feel. Three things you can hear. Two things you can smell. And one thing you can taste. Thank you all. I need 2 volunteers. And Casey, you can tell me who they are, or we just need 2 with some nice, strong voices.
If you can use the raise hand function, that way we can easily identify you.
All you have to do is read. I'm not going to ask you to sing. I'm not going to ask you to read a Shakespeare soliloquy.
I'll do one.
I'll support.
Okay, all right. So I can't see the names. So
I think it's Karen and Donnie.
It's Anya. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Anya.
Anya.
Okay, Anya and Karen.
Okay, Anya, you will be toxic positivity, and Karen, you will be hope and validation. So in your outside voice, your most dramatic voice, think about, and what I want you to have in mind is someone who is in distress. And we don't even know what the distress is. We just know that this person is in distress. And we're trying to find the language to help build resilience in that person and encourage that person. So when I say 1, 2, 3, action, Anya, I want you to read what toxic positivity would say. And then to the right, Karen, you read what hope and validation sounds like. Is that clear?
At the same time?
No. Anya, you're gonna read yours first, and then we'll go right into hope and validation. Okay.
Anya, like we're having a conversation, like call and response. You're going to say something, and then I'm going to respond to it.
Okay.
All right. 1, 2, 3, action. All right.
You just have to be positive.
Anya, I'm sure it feels hard to be positive in a situation like this.
Stop being so negative.
Anya, it's normal to feel negative in this situation.
Never give up.
Anya, it's okay to give up sometimes. Would the outcome be ideal if you did?
You should look for the good.
Anya, it's probably hard to see any good in this right now. How can we make sense of it?
I'm sure it's not as bad as it seems.
Anya, this is hard, but I believe in you to get through it.
There are worse things out there in the world.
Anya, this is really tough, and I am here for you.
It will all be okay.
Anya, I understand why it doesn't feel okay right now, but believe me, I am here for you.
Give them a round of applause. Now, Karen even put a name in there. Now, Anya was not the source of the person that we were having in mind, but sometimes we come across these people, and you know that we have awesome power, because especially people that we know, we can notice when they're not their normal, when they're not their normal, not your normal, when they're not their normal. Something, when you are close enough to someone to make a connection, you're able to make a connection, because the point is to make a connection to the feelings and not a correction of the behavior. So all these are some sample language and words that we could use to inspire people to find their own courage, because we may not be able to fix anything, but people have a sense of what it is that they want to do or could do. And all they need is for you to be present with them as they work through it, giving them hope and validation. We've all said things that were toxically positive because we didn't know what to say. And we'll continue to do it because we're just trying. We're just trying to make a connection. But think about the next time you see someone who's not their normal, or even the way you talk to yourself. What would you need for someone to do to support you, offer you hope and validation? Thank you so much. You all were great. So it can go just a little bit further. And this is taken from Mental Health First Aid. This is an evidence-based program that we teach at the Mental Health Association in America through Mental Health America. And these are open-ended questions to engage, and again, could possibly save a life. Because again, you never know what people are going through, what it took for them to come to the office today, or even to show up at ShopRite or the PTA, or people are exhausted. Quite open-ended questions like, are you okay? Are you thinking about suicide? I've noticed that. Do you want to take a walk? How are you really? But before you ask these questions, ask yourself, where are you? Where am I? Am I in a position to ask these questions? Maybe I need to bring someone else with me if that's appropriate. But asking these questions are paramount. It could be questions like this, open-ended questions that allow people the opportunity to share. And why therapy is so important and professional help is so important, because these people are trained, paid listeners. Because many of us have not said our story out loud. We've internalized it, and we need to get it out. And so if you ask these questions, give people space to answer the question. It's not going to come out like a Shakespeare soliloquy, because when people are not their normal, sometimes it's hard to link the thoughts. It's like someone asking you what your PIN number is when you have the flu. I don't know. Or what's number 47 on your tax return? I don't know. So people need space. Asking the question about suicide is not going to encourage or inspire someone to die by suicide. They're already thinking about it. Think about you asking the question allows that person to just slide the lid of a tightly closed pot just a little bit and let some steam out in a safe space. We just need to be there most times. If you are not the person and you know that that person needs more support, there's support available 24 hours, 7 days a week in over 200 languages. There's always someone at the other end of this phone. You can call and text 98. I'm going to share this 38-second video with you because there are other services that are available through 988. Thank you for watching that. Also, I'm part of a community education team, and again, access to information quickly and having it on hand is important to us, as I know it's important to Gathering Ground as we gather this information. And I just love that. I love the name Gathering Ground because we're trying to find a foundation, and we're gathering. And ground is the foundation. Is what are we going to stand on? And mental health is like that too. Where am I going to put my agency behind? What am I going to put my emotions behind? And what wave am I going to surf? Mental health has been described as an ocean. And emotional wellness is deciding which wave I'm going to ride. Because the waves are going to come. Like grief's going to come. Sadness is going to come. But which one am I going to ride? Which one am I going to pay attention to? Which one am I going to focus on? And am I making a connection between my mind and my body? Is that pain in my neck due to me carrying this heavy box, or if it's the pain in my mind or things that I need to let go of or address? So 911 is think of it as reactive. Fire, severe injury, medical problems, criminal activity, life-threatening situations. 988. We just shared the details. There's so many things that are offered through that crisis line. Think of 988 as proactive. Share it with friends and family. You could be a teenager. You could be a young person and call 988. Suicidal thoughts, emotional distress, concern for a friend or family member. 211 is another national line for food, housing, utility assistance, healthcare services, transportation, legal services, counseling and support, and poison control. 800-222-1222. Exposure from medications, This website is so extensive. You can actually hold a pill up and it can tell you what type of pill it is and if it's the right size and all types of things. Household cleaners, plants, bites, stings, lead, pesticides, and now recreational drugs. Now that I'm here in New Jersey. So there are certain states where marijuana is legal. So, different types of recreational drugs, understanding, if you want to get more information on that, these services are available 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it's part of, I share this because it's important for your mental health. Everything impacts your mental health. So I am part of a team, as I mentioned, the community education team at the Mental Health Association in New Jersey. Our website is right there, mhanj.org. I know it's probably going to be in the chat as well. These are other programs and presentations and trainings and workshops that we offer. I encourage all of you now to take out your phones and use them, put them on picture, and you can scan the QR code for my contact information, as well as other information related to call lines, emotional support groups, anything related to the Mental Health Association in New Jersey, and different trainings and things that we can offer. Some of those in particular, Pews are promoting emotional wellness and spirituality for faith-based communities, and not just for faith-based communities, but we've realized that faith-based communities become a wonderful access point for people of color or marginalized communities or under-accessed communities. And so we actually have the director of the Pews program on this call. And so I know we get to the Q&A. If there are any questions that you might have about that program, there's a certificate program available for that too. The New Jersey Mental Health Players, where we use art and advocacy, mental health first aid, which is a certification program that we can come to you or offer virtually. Hearing distressing voices, those people who are voice hearers. We do a lot of this with the crisis intervention teams throughout the state of New Jersey. It's providing empathy for our first responders to discern a mental health crisis and de-escalate. We do mental health overviews. We have suicide prevention programs for adults and youth. And we are expanding our youth mental health programs. Again, my name is Lynette Sheard. Donnie Barnes is on this call as well, who's the coordinator of the New Jersey Mental Health Players. And Deacon Laverne S. Williams is also on the call. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because that is the conclusion of my formal presentation. And I'd like to turn it back over, or however you let my host
I just want to, sorry, Lynette. I just wanted to say a quick thank you before we turn off the recording. A quick thank you to Lynette for your thoughtful and engaging presentation. I know it resonated deeply with me. And I think going by the few comments that we read, it seems to be resonating well with our attendees as well. So thank you again for sharing your expertise with us. So this concludes the recorded portion of the presentation. We'll turn off the recording.